If you're undercharging, more clients just means more work for the same struggle. If you doubled your prices, would you still be fully booked? But you need to raise your prices strategically based on your own operational costs, your own financial goals, and the value you provide, not just what other people are charging in the market. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. So for this week's personal update, I treated myself. I decided to buy the Osmo Pocket 3 camera, which I'm so excited about to really level up my content. Nick also bought an Insta360 X4 camera, and in the past, I've used DSLRs and I just find that they aren't as convenient for on-the-go content creation. So doing the podcast, we're going to Vietnam and traveling for a month. I wanted something light and compact, but also the quality was a non-negotiable. And I did a lot of research. I was tossing up between the Sony EV10 Mark II or the Osmo Pocket 3. And I'm so glad that I actually went with the Osmo because the quality is incredible. It is so small and compact. It has a built-in gimbal. It can shoot in portrait or landscape, depending on which way you flip the screen. It does really well in low light settings, as well as outdoor in that bright, harsher light. And the best thing of all, the stabilization features in it are incomparable to anything else I've ever seen. Like, I've used a DSLR on a rig. I have used my phone. I have used the Insta360 Pro gimbal with my phone. And I just find that, you know, if you've got shaky hands, it's hard to get that stabilization. But in the Osmo, you could have shaky hands. You can be walking and filming. And this thing keeps all the movement and transition super smooth. So if you're looking at a really good quality camera that you want to start using for your content, vlogging, and just being able to really level up the way your brand is perceived, I would look at investing in a high quality camera because it does make a massive difference. And for me, right now, I'm trialing out the camera as I'm filming this podcast for the very first time, but my light ring broke. So you win some, you lose some. The camera quality would probably be better if I actually had my light ring right now. But you know what? We work with what we've got. I definitely am going to upgrade and get some light boxes instead of a light ring now because I don't really feel like I need a light ring. It's more, I've got a tripod for the gimbal and I can use and control it from my phone, which is cool. So it's just slowly upgrading and investing in my setup, which, as you know, these things don't happen overnight. You don't always have the money. You don't always have the knowledge and experience of like which ones you should buy. There's so many different options out there. And so instead of just trying to buy everything all at once, slowly in my business, I've introduced new things in when I've had a bit of extra profit. And what that allows me to do is create these investments where I level up in business. And over time, that is what gets me better results. And so if you're feeling like you're stuck or things aren't progressing or leveling up in business, maybe have a look at where am I investing my money? How am I improving the quality? How am I improving the experience? Because that's always a really good starting point. So hopefully if you're watching my reels on Insta moving forward, you'll notice a difference in quality, especially once I get some kind of form of light as well. So that leads me into today's episode, which is why more clients won't fix your money problems and what will instead. I thought that buying this camera would actually tie in really nicely with this episode because you obviously have to have profit to invest in things in your business. Have you ever thought to yourself, if I just had more clients, my money problems would go away? Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's often a trap. And today I'm going to show you why more clients won't magically fix your finances and what you should focus on instead to actually make more profit. The reason why this matters is because so many beauty business owners are fully booked but still broke. If increasing bookings was the solution, you'd already feel financially secure, but you don't. Today's episode will break down what's really causing your money problems and how to fix it. And if this episode hits home, make sure to subscribe and share it with a beauty biz owner who needs to hear it. And if you actually stick around until the end, you'll also find out how you can download a free copy of my business break-even expenses calculator so you can figure out exactly how much it costs you to actually run your business. So let's talk about the more clients myth. The problem with relying on more clients is, number one, time is limited. You can't keep adding clients without hitting a ceiling. The second problem is more clients equals more work, more exhaustion, more stress, more expenses. And number three, revenue does not equal profit. You can be making more money, but still be broke. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. No matter how much you add, it just keeps draining out. And more clients won't fix the leaks in your business. So a couple episodes ago, I talked about my fully booked formula, and it's quite interesting because I've been teaching that for over 2 years now. And when I had students going through the fully booked formula, their initial problem was they couldn't get clients. But then what we found is it got to a stage where they had so many clients, they were fully booked, but they still weren't making money. And so the reason they were freaking out at the start with having no clients is, I don't have enough money. I don't know if I can continue running this business. I don't know how to survive. But then they got to a point where they were fully booked. They were making all of this money and they still had nothing to show for it. So that's what then inspired me to create the break-even cost calculator, the profitable pricing calculator, being able to do your income projections based on your service and products that you sell in your business, like creating all these resources and tools for beauty business owners to be financially literate and understand the numbers side without getting overwhelmed or stressed out. Like it literally breaks it all down for you in a way that's easy for you to actually understand and then go implement. So what we were finding is people were getting fully booked, but they had no money left. And it's not about getting more clients, because once you get clients, you're fully booked, you're capped. It was actually about addressing the pricing, looking at how much money they were spending, and then also reevaluating their business model. So let's dive deeper into this. What is really causing your money problems? So the first one is your prices are too low. If you're undercharging, more clients just means more work for the same struggle. If you doubled your prices, would you still be fully booked? And I know for a lot of people, they go, oh, clients will leave, this will happen, this won't happen. But here's the thing. A lot of people start out in the beauty industry charging this low price point, entry level. They don't have the experience. They're building up their portfolio. They're building up their skill set. They're building up their testimonials and social proof. But a lot of the time they then fall into the trap of, oh, I'll only put my prices up by $5 or $10 max a year. And they don't think about inflation. They don't consider what happens when you now have to pay a higher tax rate or introduce GST. A lot of them will take that, what I was charging at home, into the commercial salon world, and they're wondering why they can never get ahead. And so this comes from pricing your services way too low. When this happens, you need to be certain about what you need to charge for your business to survive. Way too many people think, I will just charge what everyone else is charging. I'll go a little bit above or a little bit below. But you need to raise your prices strategically based on your own operational costs, your own financial goals, and the value you provide, not just what other people are charging in the market. So the second one is your expenses are eating your profits. So we've got things like rent, your product costs, wages, super, all your softwares and subscriptions. If your expenses are too high, more bookings will not help. Yes, it will bring cash flow in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to bring profit in. And if your services aren't actually priced correctly, having more people coming through can actually mean your business is running at even more of a loss because you're using more materials, you're paying more hours for wages. It all adds up. So this is why it is so important for you to review your expenses and cut out anything unnecessary And you might even find that when you look through your expenses, there's things that you don't have to cut out fully because they might still be essential for your business, but you might take some of that excess capital you have that you're investing in certain areas and put it into another area where it can bring a higher return on investment for you. The third thing is you are not maximizing each client's value. So if clients only come once and they don't rebook, you're leaving money on the table. So if I'm looking at any of my clients who aren't rebooking their own clients in their beauty salons, I'm kind of asking like, why is that? Is that because you didn't get them the result they wanted? Is it because they didn't have a good experience? Is it because you need to invest in more upskilling or training to be better at what you do? Or is that you don't have the sales skills and you feel really uncomfortable around the sales and rebooking process? You really need to focus on that client retention, rebooking them, introducing memberships if it's applicable to your business, and upselling. For each of your clients, it's good to have an idea of what their lifetime value is. So when it comes to your marketing strategy, your client acquisition, if you're running ads, you know how much you're putting in to acquire that customer, but then how much value in terms of revenue that customer then adds into your overall revenue in the business. The fourth thing is you're just trading time for money. If your income only comes from services, you'll always be capped by your time. So let's say you've got one staff member, they get fully booked. You bring on a second one, they get fully booked. Like there's only so many hours in a day that you can trade your time for. So if you're not looking at some other form of bringing in additional revenue, you're always going to be capped. So I highly recommend for a lot of my coaching clients that I work one-on-one with to introduce high ticket offers. Sometimes if it's relevant packages, definitely adding in retail because that can just be sold on the back end of your services. And then if relevant, memberships or education. So when you look at the different kind of streams of revenue in your business, yes, there are going to be things that require more effort, more marketing to sell. But seriously, if you've already got someone coming in for a service and you're just upselling them into another service you offer, you're bundling that into a package where they buy a bunch of those services and then they get a value add or a slight discount, or potentially if you're able to then on-sell them retail, all of a sudden you could take that initial customer from being $200 to then being $2,000 in the space of a year. But if you only have that person come in once, you don't rebook them, you don't have anything else that you can sell them, then you're missing out on so many opportunities. So that is something that you definitely want to look at, is where are my streams of revenue in the business? And the fifth one that I think everyone often forgets about is the real thing that's causing the money problems is their own money mindset issues. Like if you have this internal belief system that you're not good enough or you can't charge that, or you're a massive people pleaser and you're always discounting your services just to try keep clients on board, you're scared of them leaving, like you are self-sabotaging yourself. You are creating the biggest issues in your business. And it doesn't matter what strategies you go implement. If you don't have your money mindset in the right place, you're going to struggle. And so firstly, it's getting clear on like, what are all the belief systems, the stories, the mindset that I actually have towards money, and how am I changing that? How am I creating those internal shifts so that I believe I'm worthy of money? I believe that I am able to sell this at the value it's worth. I know that I can attract high value customers who are willing to pay the price, instead of feeling like I have to go for the bottom end of the industry, offer all these discounts and just people please my way to just stay afloat. Like that is the most toxic way to build a business. If you want to be surviving in the long term, if you want to be growing a brand, if you want to be at the top of your game, you need to be actually charging accordingly. And that allows you to invest in your business, invest in the growth, invest in upskilling, invest in business coaching, invest in the brand. If you don't make any investments to your business because you're stuck in this mindset that you can't charge more, you're not good with money, what do you think the long-term effect of that is? You carry on for another 6 to 12 months, where are you going to be? If you make the changes, you dial in your numbers, you understand exactly what you're working towards, you learn how to manage your money effectively, where do you think you're going to be 6 to 12 months from now? There's always a choice. You don't have to wait until next year. You don't have to wait until the start of the month. You don't have to wait until the start of the week. It is literally making a decision right here and right now that something needs to change and empowering yourself to take action to actually bring that to life. So I'll share a bit of a story, something that came up for me when I was trying to educate in the most respectful way to someone in a Facebook group about why the beauty industry is struggling to take profit. It's really interesting because if you look at the industry as a whole, it is profitable, it is lucrative, there is so much money to be made. But when you look at small business and the profit margins, only 10% of beauty salons are making more than 6.8% profit. So if I were to break that down for you, $100,000 you profit $6,800. And then on that $6,800, you get taxed. So for every $100,000, do you want to make $6,800 or would you rather make $20,000 profit? It doesn't seem like it's worth all the long, hard hours if you're doing all of that for nothing. And so I've had people say to me, I'd rather have, 30 clients a week, $100. I remember this lady said she was doing $100 lash sets and she'd been in the industry for 8 years. And it just kind of blew my mind that someone with that amount of experience and time in the industry has never made it past the $100 mark in their own value. And obviously she didn't have the mindset of, I need to grow a business, I need to survive, I need to be able to take profit and reach financial goals. It was stuck in that state of scarcity that if I increase my clients, then I'm going to lose them all. There's a cost of living crisis, we're all struggling. And so when you're always projecting that kind of mindset and belief system, you attract people who also live by that mindset and belief system. And so you've got to think about, how are you positioning your marketing? How are you pricing your services? What belief systems are you creating for yourself? Because it's wild at any stage in my business life, whenever I've tried to create low ticket or do discounted services, it attracts the wrong people. Trying to sell the beauty industry leaders community is actually harder at only $197 a month. It's like less than $50 a week for all my resources. People don't want to pay that. Yet they're happy to pay in full a $3,000 to $5,000 package to work with me. I will sell those out. And so it's really interesting, like no matter what industry, you're going to find there's people at the low end of the market who just don't want to invest. They don't want to take that action. But then it's like if you speak to the higher end of the market, the premium pricing, the premium client, they're higher value, they're ready to take action, they're willing to invest, like your life gets to be so much easier. And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're trying to be the cheapest, if you're trying to cut corners and cheap out on quality, even cheap out on the experience you provide customers with, your business isn't going to go far. So that's why it's important to price accordingly, deliver high value and high experience, and that will ultimately allow your business to exponentially grow. So what's the 3-step fix to make more profit without more clients? Because obviously this episode is about why more clients isn't going to fix the problem. So let's say you've got the exact same amount of clients. How are we going to fix this profit problem? So at first glance, I would be auditing all of your pricing and services. So this is running your numbers. Are you charging enough to be profitable? And I'm not talking about this is how much it costs in product and supplies. This is how much I charge. This is all my profit. I'm talking about factoring in your operating costs, making sure that you're paying yourself a wage, making sure that you're paying yourself super, making sure that you're paying tax and GST. It's really interesting. I actually had someone do a profitable pricing session with me and she's like, I make so much profit and my business is doing so well, but then tax time comes around and I have nothing left. And it was just that uneducation of not understanding that that money was never yours. And because you didn't factor in that tax, that GST, you think that all this money is actually profit, but it was never profit to begin with. So you've got to understand, okay, if this is how much I want to charge, if these are all of my operating expenses, if this is my products and supplies costs, then out of the profit here, like how much is going to tax and how much is going to GST, because then you will have your true profit and you will understand if you're profitable or not. If you don't have profitable services, it's actually impossible for you to be able to run discounts. The amount of times I have gone through services and I'm saying, how are you offering a 20% discount when you're not even making 5% profit? You should be aiming for a minimum of 30% profit, minimum. There are services out there as well, which I do not believe are profitable in any way, and I would not waste my time with. If you want to know what they are, send me a DM on Instagram, because I've helped a lot of my clients cut them out because they just aren't worth the time. So just understanding, like, what is it costing you to run your business? How much are you making versus how much are you spending? What's your actual take home? Because if you're putting all this hard work in, you're working these long hours, your back's sore, your neck's sore, you're not seeing family, you're not seeing friends. Like, what's the point if you're not taking home any profit? Now, what I also find is if I've got low margin services, I'm going to tell you to do one or two things. I'm going to tell you to get rid of it, or you need to increase the price and bundle it into a higher value package. So an example of this is waxing is not very profitable. Given the amount of time, the setup, the supplies, the supplies, yes, they are low. However, the time it takes, the mapping, like all of that stuff, depending on what type of waxing you're doing, for someone to come in and it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get a brow wax, that's concerning, because if you're only charging $25 to $45, you could potentially in that half hour be making $80 to $300 if you were doing something else. So it's understanding, okay, well, if this is a low margin service, how could I add it with something that's going to reduce the time but still bring me the revenue in? And so brow lamination and lash lifts together are an awesome combo to do because of the processing times, because of the setup. You can suddenly take something that might take, 45 minutes each to an hour each. So that might be like, let's say 2 hours roughly, and condense that into an hour 15 or an hour and a half to do those two services, but also pay the same price. So you've got to look at, how can I bundle these services? How do I create higher value? How do I ensure that the time is working with my favor? The expenses I can keep down so that I'm actually increasing the amount of profit I'm taking. All right. The second thing we can look at is focusing on your client retention and rebooking. So getting repeat clients is actually way cheaper and more profitable than constantly finding new ones. So you can have strategies like pre-booking incentives. So for me, when I was running my salon, I always created the incentive of booking your appointments either 3 to 6 months in advance. So these were for all my VIP people who were constantly coming back on a consistent basis, and I wanted to give them priority. I would actually get them to book their appointments ahead. That way I knew what bookings were coming up. I was able to create consistency in my cash flow. I was able to project ahead of time so that if I needed to do extra marketing, I could. There are so many benefits for you in having those appointments pre-booked, because it gives you that peace of mind, right? You're not coming up to the next week going, oh crap, there's not enough bookings. What do? You become reactive. Instead, you can actually see what's coming ahead and make proactive changes ahead of that meltdown moment that you would probably have if you didn't have any pre-booked appointments. Depending on what business you're in and how you're running it, you could potentially do VIP memberships. So that encourages people to continually come back, spend more money. They get loyalty rewards, that kind of incentive. So an example of this is I had a client, she did not have a great rebooking strategy. She was really uncomfortable when it came to sales, didn't know how to have that conversation. She would actually just process the payment and then ask, do you want to rebook, and get hit with that no. And so by changing her whole rebooking process to follow the script, or I guess this, framework I use, she was then able to increase her client retention rate to 93%. So each month it sits around 91 to 95%, but on average, I'm going to say it's 93%. And so that has worked wonders for her business. Being able to retain those clients, being able to spend the time improving their experience, getting them better results, it's also going to open you up to more word of mouth marketing and referrals. And the last thing you can look at doing is diversifying your income stream. So what this looks like is you could add retail. This is the easiest way to boost revenue. So aftercare products, anything that's going to work in conjunction or complement the treatment that you've provided them with, either going to maintain their results or enhance them in some type of way, that is going to be perfect for retail. You can sell packages and get clients to commit to the longer term. You could upsell and cross-sell. So you turn a basic booking into more of a high value service. So for example, people might have brow tint and lamination instead of just getting a wax, or this is what I get all my clients to do now, scrap brow tint off the menu completely, have brow dye and lamination. So there's so many different things that you can start to do in your business that will help you increase your revenue, but also most importantly, your profitability. If you don't have profit in your business, it's literally a ticking time bomb. Like, you don't know how long you've got left. And I think a lot of people confuse hard work with success, because you could work hard, you could be booked out back to back, and you still have nothing to show for it. So here's the key takeaway. More clients won't fix your money problems, but better pricing, smart retention strategies, and additional income streams will. So quick recap on this episode. You need to stop relying on more bookings to fix money problems. I would be auditing your pricing, improving your rebooking, and creating new revenue streams in the business. And lastly, just know that a few small changes can actually make a big impact on your bottom line. If you want help figuring out where your money leaks are and how you can create a more profitable beauty business, join my Beauty Industry Leaders community, because inside we deep dive into pricing strategies, managing your cash flow, marketing, and making more profit without burning out. You can find the link in the show notes to sign up today. Now, if you've stuck around until the end, I am delivering on my promise. I have a bonus for you. So I'm going to gift you a free copy of my business break-even cost calculator, which will help you dive deep into all your business expenses so you actually know how much it's costing you to run your business on a weekly, monthly, and annual basis. So if you're someone who's never actually looked at all the things you spend money on, this will be perfect for you, because you'll be able to dive deep into all your operational costs, softwares and subscriptions. You can look at wages, GST, tax, super. You can look at how much you're investing into training and actually see what that works out to be weekly, monthly, yearly for that one expense. But then on top of that, you're going to see that as a total. So if you are making less money in revenue than what it's actually costing you to run that business, then you know you're in the red and you need to make some changes. This is something that I think everyone should be doing on a quarterly, if not biannual basis, because there's so many shifts, right? Rent can go up, the price of supplies can go up. We've got super going up on the 1st of July, 2025 from 11.5% to 12%. So if you're not reviewing these on a regular basis, and you're falling into that trap of, I'll just put my prices up by $5 or $10, or I'll just add a 5 to 10% increase. If you're not actually aware of how much it is going up for your business and you're not pricing or creating those increases accordingly, you're just going to fall behind. And I can speak to this from my own experience. When we were running the bowling alley, I wasn't at the age or stage in my life where I quite knew how to do all the pricing things that I do today. So it was quite interesting coming into the new bowling alley and doing all the pricing restructure. Now, we hadn't increased our prices at the old bowling alley for probably it was 2012 until 2023. So 11 years, the prices stayed the exact same. But when you do the research of 2009 to 2019, there was a 23.5% increase in inflation. And so what do you think happens to that business when the prices don't go up? It just eats into their bottom line. They're making less and less profit every single year, doing the same amount of work, if not working harder for less money. And so we want to avoid you from falling into that trap as well. And that break-even cost calculator is the starting point. There's so many additional resources that I built on top of that. And that is exactly what you will find in the Beauty Industry Leaders community, or if you do work one-on-one with me. So I hope that that can provide you with some value and insight. My DMs are always open if you do want to have a conversation about how we can improve your financial side of running your business so that you feel more empowered and excited rather than stressed out and overwhelmed. Because honestly, I've been through it. Financial stress sucks and you get very reactive, but the sooner you can get on top of this, the sooner you understand how to leverage this information to make more proactive decisions, the better off you're going to be. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope you found value in it, and you can take some time today to download your copy of the break-even cost calculator and work out your running costs for your business, because that will put you further ahead in knowing your finances and being able to feel more in control rather than having that control you. I'll see you for next week's episode. Hope you have an amazing week and wishing you all the best in your business journey. Bye.
Audience exclusive.